All right, everyone. This is episode 19, following the emergency podcast that was issued on Thursday. We now have a special guest. This is the Muskegon. Now, tell me, am I getting this name right? Is it Muskegon?
Yeah,
Right?
Muskegon, yeah.
Muskegon. Okay, because I feel like there's only one way to say it, so it's just Muskegon.
Hmm,
Muskrats.
the Muskrat.
GM Alex Morales, who has shocked the world, who has sent this league into a frenzy over the last couple days.
Isn't that like
Uh,
every year though?
I feel like this is just normal at this point, so I don't even know why this is an emergency, but maybe this is becoming the norm. So what used to be breaking news is now just news. Um, so we're here to do a State of the Union, part two. He gave a State of the Union before the draft, so this is his second one. And I just got a couple questions, some prompts, and I'm gonna let Alex talk about what he thinks about this trade, what he thinks about the state of his team, where is this team going, all of that. So we're gonna get into it. Um, so I'll start it off by opening the floor to
Sure. Okay.
the Morales clan to see what he has to say just right out the gate here.
All right. Well, first off, I want to kind of explain the trade itself. Um, for the most part, I try to be very calculated on who I trade with, especially when it comes to acquiring first round picks. Um, trying to get first round picks from, say, Eric or Scabelli is obviously much different, assuming that they're going to still have a high rate of success in any particular season versus going for someone like Dustin that had those first round picks to give, and the chances of his picks being higher were considerably greater than if I went for someone that was already established as far as the rankings go. Now, sometimes that does backfire. So, for example, Sean's pick that I acquired a couple of years ago, for this last year, he ended up being 1-9. It happens. This is the risk that you take. But I specifically went for Dustin with that trade. I wasn't shopping Najee Harris, nor had any plans to do so. I felt like if I was able to get Pittman from him in return for Najee Harris, I felt like the points between both players by the end of the season was going to be too skewed. Now, I know a lot of people with Pittman right off the bat, it's like, oh, well, he hasn't scored touchdowns. That's great. He's had, 32 targets in the last 3 games alone. I feel he's ready for his breakout midseason.
For you to notice it.
But I felt like the fantasy production from both players was going to be similar enough. I understand that I threw Komet in there and Tony Pollard. I've been waiting on Pollard for years now, even before I acquired him. And Zeke's looking better. And that's what I was kind of waiting to see, if Zeke was going to be a bag of shit or if he was going to play well. And now that he's playing well, there's no reason for me to keep Pollard other than having a handcuff that might turn into an RB1 if Zeke goes down, but it doesn't really help me in this year. So there's really no point in keeping it. So again, Dustin had the picks I was looking for. I had no intention from the beginning to keep Najee Harris. I just felt like it was a good time to do it. And I was able to grab a wide receiver that I felt confident is ready to really show what he can do, even in an offense that's not looking so great right now. But I feel the opportunity is there. Like I said, he's getting the targets. It's only going to get better as the team continues to play poorly, and those touchdowns are going to come. And I think where he's at right now, as far as fantasy points, 1 or 2 touchdowns, it completely jumps him up like 10 spots, easy, compared to like where he's at with all the other wide receivers. So it'll only be a matter of time. I feel good about Pittman. I feel good about the picks. It gives me more wiggle room as far as what I want to do for next year and the year after. It's no secret that I'm probably going to try to jump for a running back in next year's draft, and I like the potential guys right now. And despite Najee Harris is like, he's doing great in the passing game and so on and so forth. Like, I just don't like where the Steelers are going to be headed after this year, especially when Ben is gone. I don't, maybe they do find somebody, but I don't want to take that chance. I prefer to just they want to run him into the ground and then he'd be useless by the time I'm ready to make my push. I don't need it.
So real quick, just to give a quick follow-up question. So you drafted Najee Harris with no intention of keeping him?
No. I didn't care for where he was at his age compared to where I wanted to be. By 20, I think it was 24, 25, I think is what I told Vince, where I really wanted to establish myself. Where I was, it gave my receivers that I've been picking up the last couple of years, not including the year with Hardman, an opportunity to grow by year 3. And then I would have established all my wide receivers and then splash in a couple running backs that I feel like are going to be utilized in multiple facets and not worried about them getting run to the ground.
So why not take Chase then?
I
or Pitts for that matter.
I like Chase a lot. I was concerned that he was going to be overhyped to the point where, people were overlooking guys like Waddle and things like that. And I was like, well, if I could land a running back right now and a guy like Waddle, who I felt was pretty close to Chase as far as talent goes, I would have been happy with that. That would have been something I would have settled with. And then knowing that I could turn around Najee Harris for multiple picks and get a wide receiver on top of that, I felt pretty good for Najee Harris and a running back that maybe does something if his primary goes down, and Cole Kmet, like tight ends, like easy to acquire. I haven't had any issues with it. Obviously, in the past, I have no reason to think that I can't grab one later. I already have Pat Fryermuth. He's being utilized. I'm not really worried about it. And same thing with the running backs. Like I've been pretty good at acquiring them, whether it's the first or second round. So not every year is going to produce the ones I like, but I'm pretty confident in my ability to grab them when I need to. So,
all right. So we have a question from the YouTube comment section from Sean O'Shea. So Sean asks, "What are your thoughts on Wentz supporting a breakout receiver since he has never?" So,
well, I think this will be the year that it happens. Like I said, not only is the target share there, it's not going to be long before he starts grabbing those touchdowns. And where he's at on the list now, I feel confident that he will be jumping up on those numbers to a solid wide receiver 2 by the end of the season. Wentz is not my favorite quarterback, but I think Pittman's going to get to the point where the quarterback play is not going to be as important moving forward.
All right, let's get into some of these prompts here. So, first prompt I have: what do you have to say to your fans? I just need to know. Because I mean, like, I'm a Bombers fan at heart. If Justin's team was in this state of turmoil that I feel like your team has been over the last 3 to 4 years, I would want an explanation from the Bombers GM. So let's say somebody out there is a giant silly nanny / Muskrat fan. What do you have to say to them?
Well, typically with a lot of teams that tend to be in these positions, keep going for the flashy splash moves, and there's a reason why those teams continue to be on the bottom, picking within top 10 every year. Say example for the Jets, and now granted I'm comparing that to fantasy football, but I really want to build a deep core wide receivers, and I know that's been a problem for me in the past in establishing any wide receivers. And if I just keep staying the course, making these boring picks, if you will, granted, Trevor Lawrence, he's going to have his struggles, which, I was hoping to see a little better, but obviously he's having his issues, but that's fine. I don't need him to blow up year one. It's just going to take time, and I don't want to feel like I have to push it for the sake of what everyone feels like I should do. Like I want to be comfortable with what I got now. Um, I would say by this time next year, I have a bunch of wide receivers that are easily capable of getting to be close to wide receiver ones, wide receiver twos, and I can build off from there. Because once I establish a nice core of wide receivers, I can finally get those running backs at the end. And like I said, running backs, you know, especially ones that end up in not so favorable situations when they come into the league, I can grab guys like that and sit and wait until they get their chance to shine. Uh, so I'm okay with that. Like I said, like a Ramondre Stevenson, for example. Those are guys that I know put in the right spots, they have a chance to really show what they can do. I've watched a lot of film on him, for example, and he was in a bad situation, so everyone was kind of staying away. But to me, he was kind of like a Najee Harris light. He didn't have the accolades of being playing for Alabama, didn't have all, having a great offensive line to run behind, things like that. But I thought he was very capable of doing most things he could. He just was in a smaller school. And
you heard it here. Najee Harris light, Ramondre Stevenson. And I was a big Ramondre fan.
Yeah.
Coming out, that. Just it was a situation-based thing for him, and it still is at this point. We just kind of have to wait and see. But those are the kind of guys that you sound like you're confident in finding later on in the draft.
Yeah, I mean,
as you fill in guys, towards the end of drafts while you're taking these receivers at the top.
Right, and I know in the past we've had we went back. You guys went back to previous drafts, like as far as what players were hits and misses. I bet if you broke that down by position, my wide receivers are almost all misses, and that's been my problem.
I think we did break it down by position.
Yeah, right. So wide receivers have been on, but my running backs have been fine.
It's like me trying to draft running backs; it never works.
Yeah, so it's just one of those things that, it's been my Achilles heel. Even when I won my championship, my wide receiving core was terrible. It was all running back. So it's, I could do that again. I'm confident what I can do, and I can do it in a short time. I just need the wide receivers to be there. So between Jerry Jeudy, T. Higgins, now Michael Pittman, Jalen Waddle, Henry Ruggs is finally starting to show
look good.
I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for that. I know it was going to be a slow start for him, slower than I wanted to year one, but we're getting there. So that's 5, decent quality wide receivers, which is going to be enough to get me through a season, and then I just need some stable running backs. I'm down to 2 now. Once Travis Etienne is healthy next year, he can be a solid flex running back. And then I still have Swift, and then the rookie I decide to pick up next season, who I will hopefully be able to utilize for a longer period of time given the age. So that's my plan.
All right.
We'll have draft picks.
Would you say at this point that you're rebuilding or competing?
Well, I'm not competing now. Once I made this move, I think it was pretty clear that I wasn't going to go anywhere. Once I lost Jeudy and Etienne, I had to make a decision. Like I'm still going to be 9th, whether I have Najee Harris or not, or I could roll the dice and try to acquire picks on top of getting another running back to replace him, and then just having an additional pick to do with and a wide receiver that, in my opinion, feels like he's getting close to his potential.
All right, fair enough. The last question I have is: anybody on this roster untouchable at this point? Is there anybody that you're just not trading? Because at this point, I thought that Najee Harris was untradeable. I thought he was the one guy that was kind of going to be built around. Now that he's gone, like for example, a guy like Swift, or are any of these guys just not even touchable on your team?
That's a great question. As far as value goes, I think Judy's in a good spot to really shine. I was obviously expecting the breakout this year, and then he gets hurt, so that didn't help. T. Higgins, even with the emergence of Jamar Chase, doesn't seem to a shortage of targets. So T. Higgins is going to be a fine quality wide receiver. Same as I drafted him and redraft, and before he got hurt, he's putting up great numbers. There's no reason to think that he won't continue to do that throughout his career. So guys like that, I'd probably be more likely to hold on to. Same thing with DeAndre Swift. I feel like he's got a really good chance to be in the league for a long time. I like where his situation is now, and how they're leaning on him, but not to the point where they're running him into the ground yet. So I can appreciate that for this year, but at least he can. It's nice to I can see him put numbers now. As far as personally, like for the sake of saying "haha, I told you so," is definitely be Henry Ruggs. I have been on his at the start, and it's nice to finally see him start to do something. And
Yeah, that's got to play into this somehow. Just the
yes.
just the overall league opinion of Henry Ruggs you got to keep him.
Yeah.
Who's honestly going to trade for him at this point?
I mean, I don't know. I imagine maybe not, just because people probably have that fear of, him
perception.
his being a one-trick pony. But like I said, if as in Alabama, when you're only being utilized a certain way, it's really hard to show everyone what you could do. If they're not asking you to do more than what your best attribute is. And granted, he's really fast, but there was a lot of film that I watched on him even when he didn't have the ball, and that's what I really paid attention to. And a few times that they use him in other ways, it was just like, oh my god, this kid, like he's small, like he's skinny, and I'm glad he made the move to bulk up. I know a lot of people worried about him losing speed, but he's looking good right now. So we'll see how it goes down the line. He could end up just doing nothing the rest of the season, and I look like an asshole. But he looks very promising right now, so I'm happy about him.
Hang on one second.